Yeah, we back. Now, today we got an interesting video, quick video, right? Apparently, a Belgian diplomat has been charged in the death of the honorable ancestor Patrice Lumumba, which occurred over 60 years ago, right? Now, this guy, after the death of Patrice Lumumba, he went on to live a lavish, powerful life, comfortable, prosperous, right? No accountability, no punishment. Just knock the black man off and go live an amazing life, go raise your family for decades and decades, right? And he almost made it to the finish line, right? At 92 years old, he almost made it to the grave, right? Made it to the grave, no punishment, no accountability, knocked off Patrice Lumumba, and I'm gonna just go to heaven, right? But unfortunately for him, he has been called to be held accountable for his actions. Now, today we're talking about a gentleman by the name of Etienne Davillon, I think that's how you say his name, a Belgian former diplomat, a top civil servant, a businessman, a former vice president of the European Commission. You see, oh man, see, this guy went off and killed Patrice Lumumba, right? Was involved in the behind the scenes orchestration of the death of one of the greatest black men of the last century. Then he went on to be a civil servant, a businessman, made millions of dollars, a vice president of the European Commission, right? Oh man, right? Oh man. Now let's continue. In June 2025, the Belgian federal prosecutor sought his referral to a criminal court on war crime charges for his alleged role in the events leading to the 1961 assassination on Patrice Lumumba. Etienne Davillon's role as a junior diplomat at the time of Lumumba's assassination in January 1961 has been a subject of scrutiny. A Belgian parliamentary inquiry in 2001 concluded that although there was no proof of direct involvement, the Belgian state and certain officials bore a moral responsibility for the circumstances leading to Lumumba's death. In 2011, Lumumba's family filed a complaint in Belgium accusing several individuals, including Davillon, of involvement in the assassination. Following a lengthy investigation, the Belgian Federal Prosecutor's Office announced in June 2025 that it was requesting Davillon, the sole surviving defendant, to be tried on charges of war crimes, specifically for his alleged role in the unlawful detention and degrading treatment of Lumumba. A chamber of the Brussels court is expected to decide in January 2026 whether to proceed with a trial. Davillon has consistently denied the allegations. Lumumba was shot dead by a firing squad with the tacit backing of Belgium, the former colonial power in the vast mineral-rich African state now known as the Democratic Republic of the Congo. His body was then buried in a shallow grave, dug up, transported 125 miles, interred again, exhumed, and then hacked to pieces, and then finally dissolved in acid. Now, this guy, Etienne Davillon, unfortunately for him, due to the fact that, unlike his other co-defendants, he decided to stay alive, long enough to see some charges. You see, his other co-defendants, those guys, they're already dead. So they went on to live, prosperous lives and raise their family and grew old with no punishment, went off and had an honorable, burial, no punishment, no accountability, never spent a day in prison. But unfortunately for him, because he decided to stay alive, for 92 years, now, unfortunately, he lived long enough to actually see some charges. Now, back during the days of Lumumba, this guy was like a young, Belgian diplomat in the Congo in his late 20s, right? Obviously, very close to the circles of power in Belgium and the circumstances during that time. Obviously, Congo just recently became independent. And here you got this young brother, Patrice Lumumba, young black man talking about we taking back the resources. Obviously, the Belgian elites, the Belgian diplomacy was not happy about the type of rhetoric he was spreading in the atmosphere. And obviously, not only the Belgian diplomacy, but also other nations like the United States as well. We cannot forget that. And of course, during that time, Belgian companies had extensive mining operations in the country. So Patrice Lumumba was actively antagonizing these companies and their shareholders and their elites, saying that we are taking back the resources and we're about to kick you out the country. So obviously, they did what they did, orchestrated the man's murder. And, here we are today. And he almost got away with it, right? He almost got away with it. Now, one thing I do want to touch on is the fact that even though the adversary might orchestrate plans to neutralize us, to take us down, they cannot execute their plans unless they have insiders or collaborators working on their behalf from the inside, right? So Patrice Lumumba, the only reason he was able to be taken down was because of certain collaborators in his entourage and those close to him that made themselves useful to the adversary. If the men that were surrounding Lumumba at that time, if they stood firm, if they stood on honor, loyalty, and integrity instead of greed and their own personal interests, if they decided to stay loyal to the team instead of making themselves useful to the adversaries and outsiders and the CIA and the Belgian government, then Lumumba would have never been able to be attacked and captured. And I think that's the nuance that we have to talk about when we talk about coup d'etats, right? there are various different types of coup d'etats, right? You have revolutionary coup d'etats where a revolutionary leader comes to power by the force of arms. And then you have other coup d'etats in this case that are foreign backed and foreign sponsored, where the individual comes to power just because he wants to sip champagne with Europeans, right? Like Mobutu Sese Seko, right? So we have to understand all coup d'etats are not created equal. As long as you are willing to do their bidding and uphold and defend their interests, they'll gladly embrace you. Democracy be damned. They'll never lecture you about democracy as long as you are willing to advance their agenda and collaborate with, the European powers, right? They'll never talk to you about democracy or elections or any of that. They'll let you stay in power for decades like Mobutu, right? But if you stand in opposition to their interests, then that's when elections about democracy and elections, it's like a never ending repeat. It's a never ending loop, right? So that's the reality of the matter. Now, like I said, this guy just happened to be charged because, unfortunately for him, he decided to live long enough. But he was not the only co-defendant, and he was not, only the main guys involved in the assassination, right? You also have other guys from Belgium, like a guy named Gerard Sowete, I think that's how you say his name, a Belgian officer in the colonial police of Congo. And 1 year before his death in 1999, it became known that he was involved in the disposal of the body of Patrice Lumumba in the aftermath of the assassination. In 1999, Ludo de Witty published De Moord op Lumumba, translated as The Assassination of Lumumba. The author interviewed Sowete, who confessed openly that he was present to exhume and destroy the bodies, and added that he had no remorse in doing so. Now, that guy died over 20 years ago, right? So, like I said, he was able to do what he did and then get off scot-free, no punishment, no accountability, never spent a day in prison, wasn't even charged with a misdemeanor for the crime, and then he went off and he died in 2000, and nothing was ever done to him. His family, nothing was ever done to him and his family, and that's pretty much been the story of a lot of individuals throughout history, throughout the centuries, who were involved in orchestrating the deaths of many illustrious black men. They went off to live long, prosperous lives with no punishment. Just like the guy who's the subject of the video today, right? Etienne Davillon. After the death of Lumumba, he went on to rise in power, rise in status within the Belgian foreign ministry, right? Went on to become a very successful businessman, a Belgian power broker, went on to become the vice president of the European Commission, right? Became one of the top bureaucrats in all of Europe. I mean, this guy, like I said, he almost got away with it, bro. He almost got away with it. He almost got away. And then when you examine the manner of how Lumumba was treated in his final days, like, bro, even serial killers are treated in a more humane fashion than Patrice Lumumba, right? Even guys who committed crimes against children are treated in a more humane and civilized manner than Patrice Lumumba, right? Even serial killers are able to, get their day in court and be sentenced to life in prison, and they get their, 2-3 meals a day, and they get a place to sleep, and they get water to drink, and they get some clothes to wear, right? But Patrice Lumumba, when it came to Lumumba, I mean, my man was beaten in public, beaten damn near to death, right? Killed him by a firing squad. Then his body was chopped up limb from limb and hacked to pieces and dissolved in acid. Right? Like I said, bro, even the worst of the worst criminals are treated in a more humane fashion, right? And all this man did was try to represent and defend his people. And they hacked the man to pieces. They destroyed the man's body. They humiliated the man in public in front of everybody, right? Like, and guess what? The perpetrators were allowed to live long, prosperous existences with no punishment. Well, except this guy, right? But they almost got away. And you even saw the other guy, right? The guy who died 20 years ago. He said he felt no remorse on his deathbed. He said, I feel no remorse in doing it, because in his mind, he probably felt like, I'm simply defending the interests of my country. I'm simply defending the interests of my people. So if we have to, dismember and hack the black man to pieces, then that's what we're going to do, right? That's the mentality they had. And that's the mentality a lot of them still have to this day. So black man, like I said. But anyway, that's the reality, brother. Now, I'm happy. I'm happy. It's kind of a consolation prize because, like I said, all the other co-defendants have already passed away with no accountability, no punishment. But at least this guy right here, one of the big bureaucrats and power brokers in Europe, at least, we get to see him be held accountable, go to court and answer for his charges, answer for his crimes. It's kind of a consolation prize, but I'll take it, right? I'll take it. Anyways, man, it's your boy Neferkari. That's Salim back in the Billy. Yes, indeed. Cash App in the description. Support the Patreon. Join the Patreon. Link in the description. Pin comment at the top. Support the album. So Hell 1816. Go to my homepage, go to my playlist section. Enjoy the album. And I'm gone. Peace.
Told me she loved me and said that it's real. So independent, ain't signing no deal. Feel like a king and I'm up in Cap Henry. I'm in the citadel, top of the hill. Trying to run up and we let off a cannon. Secret location, I'm keeping it sealed. You ain't retaliate, Franco Medina. Came to the country and he got killed. You ain't retaliate, Rafi and Mans. Thought you was law, thought you was real. Didn't even wanna come pick up the body. Had your man locked up, he died in the cell. Up at the palace, I'm throwing a party. Right on the south and I'm giving them hell. And my little shorty, she looking exotic. African features, she casting a spell. Run to the check like I work on my fitness. Wake up each morning and handle my business. Said that she love me, she want my genetics. Wanna get married and make it official. Wanna get married and have my babies. Up in the city, I'm riding Mercedes. Up in the city, they treat me like royalty. Feeling like Dolph, talking about lords. Spreading my wings and I had to get fly. Up in the top, an incredible vibe. Came from the bottom, I'm up in the sky. Gave one look and said, baby, you fine. Wake up each morning and handle my business. They just be talking, you see me, I live it. Ride on my enemies, sounding like thunder. 1804, got that shit in my spirit. 1804 when I step in the building. 1804, and that's word of my mother. Rock my women and die for my brother. Never gon' fall when I'm deep under pressure. Tell them we back and they better accept it. Move like a king, every step is divine. Ride on my enemies with no exception. Taking revenge and I'm taking what's mine. Pour up a drink and it's time that we toast. Watching my back, keep my enemies close. Only the family, I stick with my brothers. Cannon's position outside of the coast. Heavy artillery for the protection. Move like a general, stick to the code. Feel like a king when I'm up in the north. Beautiful women, they trying to get chose. Launch an invasion all over the south. Capture the capital with all my woes. Look at my energy and my demeanor. Dripping that ice and that's head to my toes. Lately I'm flexing all on the Americans. Flexing my muscle on missing my road. Just got a carriage just coming from London. Boy, that shit cash, I ain't taking no loans. Boy, that shit cash, that's fresh on the boat. Enemy know I got millions in gold. Enemy know I got choppers and cannons. How did I do it? They can't understand it. How did I do it? It's cause I'm relentless. Call me King Harry, my name is cemented. Call me King Harry, I'm up in the palace. Call me King Harry, I'm raising the status.